Welcome to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip, as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women, because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas, because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. All right, you guys, well, welcome to the podcast today. I'm so excited to have you join me today. And as always, thank you for spending a few moments to align with your purpose and to get some of those business strategies that will help you confidently, authentically, and unapologetically show up and shine. So like I mentioned, you guys are going to love getting to know Randall Grizzle, founder, creator of Closer Secrets. And he is just doing some awesome things. So Randall Grizz, as your friends call you, thank you so much for taking a few moments and being on the show.
Excited to be here. Looking forward to contributing, seeing if I can share some things that help some people out.
Awesome. Well, before we jump into a little bit more about some Closer Secrets that you are going to be sharing, I would actually love the listeners to get to know a little bit more about you and your backstory, kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So for me, it all kind of started as far as the sales thing, looking back about 18 years ago. And I was in the construction business. And in the winter times, construction is a little bit slow here in Boise and Idaho.
Yeah.
And it was about the time the downturn, the recession time. And so in the wintertime, I started getting on the phones and selling consulting for people to make money from home with eBay. So eBay, most people have heard of eBay. At one point was, the world's largest marketplace and probably the easiest way for people to make money from home. without handling products and doing those types of things. So anyways, I learned the high ticket sales, ended up meeting up with Russell Brunson a couple years later in the beginning of .com Secrets. And we built multiple sales teams, did the sales for some amazing people, and then ended up doing the sales for Russell on his higher ticket stuff with the Inner Circle, ClickFunnels certified partners, all that stuff. Got to know a bunch of amazing entrepreneurs, got to see how these people were taking their businesses from 6-7 figures, watching them do amazing things, and saw that the marketplace was kind of asking for sales professionals that understood the high ticket sales process. And so that's one thing that's got exciting for me. Started Closer Secrets, teaching people how to do that sales process, contracting closers, and just helping our clients, sell their high ticket offers. And it's been a journey, amazing journey.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun. So yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of this story.
That's awesome. I love that. And just for our listeners here, I just wanted to throw in this little nugget of just a little bit of a background. But so Randall and I went to middle school with his little brother. And so we kind of knew of each other. And then all of a sudden now as adults, we're able to reconnect in this awesome online marketing world. And back in the day, growing up in this small town in Idaho, Randall, did you ever think that this was where your journey was going to take you? Working with some of the top entrepreneurs in the world, helping people scale from 6 to 7 figures, like starting to teach people this high ticket sales so that they can show up and serve in a bigger way and serve more people. And right, like what was that little boy like in small town, like 500 people town in Idaho, compared to now?
Yeah,
I think that you'd be here.
That's a good question. I think always growing up, I always kind of felt like I was a leader. And like all those things that you mentioned are amazing. Thank you for like the kind, like I appreciate all those kind things that you said. But the most wonderful thing that I have is that I get to be in control of my time and work with my wife. So we work together, and, I didn't grow up, we didn't have a lot of money. So like we live in a nicer home. Our kids, are able to do a lot of things that in a small town that maybe they didn't have the opportunity. So it's like, I do feel blessed in this moment. Obviously we have big goals and we're trying to do a lot of fun stuff with the company.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just super excited in this moment. And so how do you feel like I could contribute the most to these folks listening?
Well, I think part of it would just be definitely talking about, right? So whether or not people know it, they are in sales, right? They're trying to enroll someone into something, whether it's what they believe, whether it is their mission, whether it is their product, their service, the t-shirt that they are selling at the store, the whatever it might be, right? Every single person is in sales. So as you have gone through your journey in sales and really being an expert in this, what are a few tips that you might have when it comes to really sharing and selling something and having people say yes to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the biggest thing for most people is understanding and having a game plan, right? Like a lot of times people are afraid to kind of get into the sales process because they don't really know the direction where they're going. And so it creates them like some uncertainty, and that makes people uncomfortable. And the beautiful thing about sales is when you keep it simple and you're really coming from a place of truth, and you ask the right questions and you believe in the product or service that your selling is going to get that person the result they're looking for, you're really doing them a disservice by not asking the right questions and maybe getting them to make a decision that maybe they normally wouldn't make. And so sales, when you look at somebody like Joel Osteen, okay, most people know Joel Osteen, or Andy Stanley, right? Like these guys are some of the best closers, sales professionals in the world, right? Would you agree? I mean, maybe some people don't, but they're at the end of the day, like they're selling God. They're getting people to make decisions. And so let's look at the process that they use, right? Because it's always the same. All these guys, they come out on the stage and they nail an introduction, right? So it starts with that. And so whether it's them or us, these things will always come into play. So we have to be aware. We have to get really good at performing our way through that introduction, you know, and that's what they're good at. So they come out on stage and they introduce themselves and they're happy to be here. They're setting the tempo. They're excited. And that's kind of the introduction. And then what do? Well, they start asking questions, right? They say, do you feel like, that you've made these bad decisions and you can't let it go? And you're thinking about this and you're thinking about that. And it's just, they start probing, and it relates to people. It starts creating emotion for us. We start all relating that to our situation. And so the asking questions though, right? It's kind of the investigation, and they're figuring out where everybody's at. And then they get in, they kind of transition into a blast. Then they say, so, this is where you're at. These are the things that you've been doing, but guess what? There's an answer, right? And when you choose to, and you make the decision, like this person did, look at how wonderful they're doing, and they're just living this wonderful life now. And so they get into that excitement, and then they get into the commitments. They say, okay, so if you want this, then you have to do your part. Like you're gonna have to put time into it, learn. You're gonna have to be open-minded. You're gonna have to be teachable. You're gonna have to be decisive. You got to be a decision maker. You got to make the right decisions. And oh, by the way, here's the for donations. Like here's the thing, passing it around, right? So it takes that investment, right? And so and then those are the pre-qualification kind of commitments. And obviously, you don't have to give, but it's part of it, doing it right. And then they go into their close. They're right at the end of church. They're like, if you don't have Jesus in your heart, and we encourage you to ask him. Let's just, and so closers ask. So they're asking for a commitment. And guys that are good, like Joel Osteen and Andy Stanley and these guys, every week they're just lining them up, and more people are making that decision, and they're deciding, and they're changing their lives for the good. So that's like the ultimate. Those guys are really good at sales, and they understand how to get conversions at a high level. So that's kind of the introduction. Get really good at that. Get good at asking questions, knowing where you're going, asking them, finding their pain and their goals. And then having a blast where you create excitement. I understand where you're at. And this is actually where Charity was at. But then after we worked with Charity, and she kind of reminds me so much of you, right? And then after we worked with Charity, like now she's doing this amazing thing, right? And so they're like, oh, okay, I can, but if you want to do that amazing thing, then you're going to have to put the time into it, like Charity did. You're going to have to be open-minded and do the different things that we ask of you. You got to be decisive. And guess what? There's a financial commitment. And covering those pre-qualification commitments, and then getting into actually what they get. Because if you can tell me, yeah, I'll put the time into it, I'm open-minded, teachable, I'm decisive, I can make a financial commitment, provided it all makes sense, then you're a deal. You're somebody that should be a client for me. And then I explain how it works, ask for the sale, and that's it.
That's awesome. I love that. So just to kind of recap, so obviously it starts with the game plan, what you're talking about. So believing in what you're selling and sharing, because I think that's one of the main things, right? So whether it's your own product or someone else's product that you're sharing or another company's thing, like that it has to come down to the authenticity that you feel, at least for me, that I believe, right? Like you have to be able to believe that, yes, this thing is awesome and it will serve this person to the best and the highest good for them.
100%.
So I think that's such a good foundational piece to understand. And if maybe you're listening to this, maybe I know a lot of people, whether they're in direct sales or maybe they're trying to create their own thing, but they don't have that belief yet, I encourage you to dive into the process of what it is that can help your belief grow, right? What it is about the product or the service or the thing that you are sharing with others. Where is there inconsistency in that belief so that you can dial that number up? And then when you start to share it, the belief and the body language and the verbiage and even the punctuation, right? Because communication is 93% nonverbal. So when you believe in something, it shows up in your voice and in your tone and in the way that you talk about it. Compared to, right, if you don't believe in something, like you might be a little bit more hesitant, like, yeah, like this would be really good for you, instead of like, yes, this is the thing that will be life-changing for you. And I know it will be perfect because it reminds me of this person, right? So, so good. And then I also loved, I kind of want to talk a little bit about this asking the right questions. This was a good thing that I had to really start to learn. And I love that you mentioned this, because so many times people aren't necessarily either asking the right questions or they are telling other people what they think they need.
100%.
Right?
Yep. That's the biggest mistake most of the time that people make, that just kind of trying to sell new things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's dive into kind of some gold nuggets when it comes to asking the right questions.
Yeah. So the main thing after you kind of nail that introduction and set the tempo, bring that energy, like you're talking about, the vibration is all that they feel, the vibe, right? It's real, like,
Yes.
and when you set that tempo the right way from the beginning, and then it really is about kind of doing an interview, right? And when you're interviewing, you're trying to figure out kind of the 4 W's, like who they are, where they are, why they raise their hand, and what they're looking to accomplish. So if people would understand that I can't provide a solution for somebody unless I really understand where they're at, what they're looking to accomplish, you're doing yourself a disservice when you get on and just kind of try to sell them whatever the offer is. Because they usually, most of the time, they probably just aren't going to buy. But when you do a good job, like in the probe section, the investigation, right after you get done with that introduction, and you're just real and authentic with them, and you're like, Charity, tell me where you're at, what you're looking to accomplish, right? And then we could go from there. That'd be great. So I just set the tempo. Like now you're like, okay, now you're answering the question. You're like, this is where I'm at. This is what I've been doing. This is what has been working. This is what hasn't been working. Okay. So what do you feel like you need the most help with? Well, this is what I feel like I think I need the most help with, but I don't know what I don't know. Like, okay. What are you looking to accomplish? Like, this is what you're doing now. Right? How come you set up this call? Right? What is the outcome that you're looking to get? So this is what I need to find. And this is the struggle most of the time when people get on calls, because when we get on a call, naturally, we're kind of trying to go for who has the possession arrow or the frame, the control kind of the call. Right. So when I set that tempo the right way and I ask good questions, then I can start listening. And I can, you tell me where you're at, what you want to do. What do you mean? What would it feel like if you were making $300,000 a year? Yeah. Okay. Can you expand on that? Like, help me understand more about what you're talking about, and just getting you talking or listening, being like, now I know where she is. I know who she is. Like, she's married. She's got 3 kids, right? She's got daycare. She's got student loans. She's got no money for retirement, whatever the situation is, right? Like, I've asked and figured out like the truth about where somebody is and figured out who they are, right? And then I figured out kind of where they want to go, right? Now I know this is who you are. This is where you want to go. And then that helps me understand why you raised your hand in the first place. And then it's just a question of what are you willing to commit to get the result you want? And most people that are familiar with spin selling, how spin selling works, is kind of a lot of the same principle. Like, we need to, you got to be able to find the problem, understand like what their situation is, find the problem. And if they don't make changes and stuff. Like this is the implication of not doing anything, which is usually the most scary. And this is what they need, and this is the payoff. So let's go, and that's kind of the most important part about asking the right questions is keeping it simple. Just be real with people, figure out where they're at, what they want to do, like do that.
Totally.
And don't tell them about whatever you're going to provide for the solution until you've done that. Most of the time people get on the phone and it's like somebody with a strong woman like you, and you're like, okay, tell me how this program works, Randall. How's your stuff work? You're like, you're that's the personality type. You just like, I don't want to waste any time. Like, tell me how you can help me. And naturally that's how most people are. So I would have to get control back from the frame. So I'd be like, I don't know if I can. Like, I need to understand where you're at and what you're looking to accomplish. So if you could kind of give me that, the Reader's Digest version, right? And so I just took it back from you, like real friendly, right? But I'm like, no, that's not how this is going to go. Like, this is going to go this way.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, and it really is like, right, it's how to know whether or not someone is ready and if they're willing to open up and say, yeah, these are my pain points, or this is where I'm struggling, or if they're even aware of that stuff, right? Or compared to if they're just like wanting to buy the next thing, but not even do the action to get the result. I have this really fun exercise that I do in my masterclass, and it right. So typically we move away from, we either move away from pain or towards pleasure. But the thing that moves us away from pain is typically a greater action that's taken. And so I loved what you said. It's like, okay, what are those pain points? Like, where are they at? And how, like, if you keep going this way, right, how is that going to be maybe a year down the road or 5 years down the road? Like, how does this pain get magnified, right? How do things not change? Do they get worse, right? And so now all of a sudden, when they put themselves in that place of even more exaggerated pain. So for an example, like if someone is just maybe they're just putting on, 10 pounds a year, 10 extra pounds a year. Well, what does that look like in 5 years? What does that look like in 10 years, right? What does your body look like? What's your energy look like? What size clothes are you wearing? Right now, all of a sudden, like that 10 pounds compounded over time is a big deal, right? And they're going to want to move away from that pain point because you've been able to like magnify that. And it gets them to take action. So,
yes.
So how do you know when someone is not ready to say yes, to join the thing, to buy the thing, to close the sale? How do you know that they're not ready?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times, that's part of the reason why you'll get into the commitments with them. One of the tall tales if they're not ready is if they're not open to share with you what their actual real is. So if they won't give you a glimpse of who they are and what they want to accomplish, that if they're just, tell me how this all works, like those people will never buy. They just don't buy. Because then they'll just be telling, tell me this, give me some referrals. Now give me this, now give me that. And it's just, you just totally have no positioning. Those people just won't buy. So like the way that I kind of look at it is there's a certain percentage of people that just aren't able to either. Like if I have 10 opportunities, maybe 3 or 4 of those are people that just aren't ready. Like maybe they don't have the time, right? They can't commit to it right now. They can't go all in. Maybe they're doing another course, right? Or they feel like they know this other thing that works better. So they're just kind of like a know-it-all. Maybe they're not decisive. Maybe they, they want to do all these different things, but when it comes down to it, like they're not willing to step out of their comfort zone. Yeah. Or maybe they're just not willing to make the financial commitment. So if they're not willing to do all those things, then they would be somebody that's, we're just not able to help. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. So well, what you listed off were a lot of very, I'm sure, common objections, right?
Yeah, that's why I say really, if you just keep this process simple and you think like, I'm going to bring really good energy when I do my introduction, set the tempo the right way. and then ask some good questions, figure out who they are, what they want to accomplish, where they are, why they raise their hand, all these things. And then the pre-qualification commitments. So these pre-qualification commitments will come into play whether you're starting a hot dog stand or a restaurant down the street, or you're going back to college. Okay. So people understand that if you go through these commitments, you'll save yourself a bunch of time and you'll get yourself a lot more deals. So now I've done a good job of identifying where she is, what she wants to accomplish, all these things, right? Now, for me to actually be able to help her, she's going to have to make some commitments to me. So we can help you get to your goal. Like, we can help you do that. This is what it's going to take. Can you put 15 to 20 hours, 10 to 15, whatever, a week into this? If we get you started, if I extend the invitation and we didn't work together, we make that time commitment. And then, if they're not willing to, then they're not serious. But say they do make that time commitment, now they're going, yeah. Now they're telling you, yeah, I'll make the commitment, so they're already a little bit committed. They're already going the right direction. And then you say, okay, so I just need you to be open-minded and teachable, right? We're not going to reinvent the wheel with you, but have you ever tried to work with a know-it-all? And they're like, right? And they're like, yeah, we don't want to do that. Okay, great. Now they're like, we're going the right way. And now as far as being decisive, do you make these type of business decisions on your own? Do you have a business partner or a spouse? Because we're here to kind of help create success stories, not divorce stories. Mm-hmm. So we want to be able to get your spouse involved and make sure that we have his blessing. Is he home? Or we want to try to get him on, or make sure. And they're like, no, I do everything on my own. Okay, they convinced me of that. Okay, it's good. Most of the time they don't. So I always try the best I can to get them together, but sometimes you just can't. And then the money, like, this is how much the investment is, right? It's 10,000, it's 20,000, whatever the investment is. Now, obviously you have to see how this is all going to make sense and how this investment is going to pay for itself. I'm going to explain to you exactly how all these deliverables work that I provide, right? And it's kind of black and white. It's either going to make sense to you or it won't. But provided it does make sense, are these commitments that you're willing to make.
Yeah, that's good. And I do want to touch a little bit about kind of the power of the Me Too. And I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I think that it could kind of piggyback off of what you're talking about right now, right? Kind of these pre-qualifications. Are you ready? And then these are the results that you can start to not expect, but these are some similar results that we've gotten with other people that are similar to you, right? And the Me Too, right? This person used to be here in their business, and now they're here because of the processes that we have. So let's talk a little bit about like how incorporating testimonials and other people's success stories in selling helps.
To me, it's everything. Like right now, some of the amazing things that you're able to do with technology to indoctrinate people through the sales process. So like one of the things that we're working on that we do is when a lead comes in, you would call them and then you would send them an email with a landing page that has some homework, like, right, some videos, some research stuff to help them, a bunch of case studies. They show them a bunch of case studies. Like the more that you can overwhelm people with case studies, it's key in indoctrination. So if you know that you have a big appointment, put together a landing page that has like a cool video, like your story, whatever. It has some case studies. It has like a little sneak peek of your course. And then, be like, call them when they set up an appointment or however that works. If you're using the internet to set up appointments, and just be like, I'm going to send you an email. Make sure that you go through the stuff in there before our call. And then before the call, they go through that stuff and they're like, charity's amazing. Like, they just got done watching this cool thing about your story and seeing all your case studies. And now when you get on the call and you're like, did you have a chance to go through those things? They're just like, you've already positioned yourself as like somebody that's amazing.
For sure. Which is so important. That's that pre-frame. That's that, like what you said, is kind of that pre-qualification or the edification of what happens, right? Like, yes, like the confirmation that this is the right person or not, right? Like,
yeah.
but not to work with, which that's important too.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and the other part to that, to answer that question, is doing a case study that's somebody similar to yourself.
yeah.
Right. So like, so that I can share with you, yeah, there's this lady, like she reminds me so much of you, right? Like last year you guys were like, she's kind of right where you were or you are now, right? That's where she was. Now she's doing this, and you kind of check her out. You're like, she's similar to me. Right? Like, I can do it. So having similar case studies, I think, is important to answer that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to let other people kind of know a little bit about not only how you are able to, right? They might be listening to this and they're like, holy crap, I don't even know where to start, right? Like, okay, like I have my thing or my online business, or have this idea for a program, but and okay, I want some high ticket sales, or even right with my $9.97 course or whatever it might be. And they might be a little bit overwhelmed. So this is something that you offer with clients. And I know that you have been working really, really hard on creating a digital course as well that teaches these closer secrets. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about what you do, and we'll make sure.
We got a new puppy.
Oh, fun.
Hey, girl, get out of here. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah. So the courses are all.
People can kind of know where to find you, and if this is something that they want help with, kind of this, all of the concepts that you're talking about, so that when they share things, sell things, create things, bring clients on, that they know that it's the right client, that they know that it's the action takers that are going to say yes and do the work and do the transformation and get the results, instead of just throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping something sticks, right? Because that can happen.
Yep. Yeah. And so if you go to one of the fastest ways, easiest ways is, so I have a book called Closer Secrets. And if you go to closersecrets.com, you can check out the book. And then we're about ready to launch this course. And the course is about some of the things that I'd mentioned, but really goes into detail of from the kind of time that you create a lead all the way through the transaction, the whole process. It's pretty amazing. Like, we spent a lot of time and resources and amazing minds coming together to create it. So we're super excited about that.
Well, you worked with some of the top people doing this. So I love that it's like what you have processed through and created a successful, like this is what you did, right? Like, this is what you do for some of the top people, internet marketing.
Yeah. Awesome. Really, like that's the reason why I initially created this course, is to train people from onboarding that I bring on to do high ticket sales, everything. Awesome. So so anyways, I think it's going to be good, but it'll be coming out soon. So if you join Closer Secrets Facebook group, make sure that you put your at least your email in there so the admin will accept you. But if you join Closer Secrets Facebook group, I'll keep you up to date on the new stuff that we have. So yeah, and then if you're actually interested in sales opportunities, like if that's your thing and that's what you wanted to be doing, then you can join our community called Grateful Closers. Join that Facebook group. So yeah.
It's awesome. And I'll make sure to put all of the links in the show notes as well, you guys, so that you can just scroll down if you're on the podcast and just click right on over and request to be added. But yeah, Randall, thank you so much for sharing these awesome nuggets. I know that will serve the community, and you guys make sure that you, if this is resonating with you, grab his course, join the Facebook groups, connect with Randall. He's awesome, and his journey is just so fun to watch and to be a part of. And I know that he's here to really help those of us that have a message on our heart, that have products, services, things that we love and want to share and want to have other people be a part of, so that their life can be better too. These techniques and the processes that he has learned throughout his life, they are definitely ones that will help level up your business. So thanks, Randall, so much.
Thank you for having me. See you guys.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.